Hi and welcome to my completed pages video for September 2025. If you're new to this channel, hi, my name is Ina. If not, welcome back. This month I colored a total of 18 pages across 9 books. That was a great coloring month. I honestly don't know how I managed that, because normally my average is around 9 pages. And this time it was simply twice as many. Some pages were a bit quicker to finish, and I based some with watercolor made from felt tip pens. For anyone who doesn't know how that works, I just use regular kids' felt tip pens that I still have lying around, like these ones. They are actually really old, but they still work. I color with them onto a plastic cover sheet, and then I use a damp brush to apply the color to the page. This makes everything streak-free, and if you dilute the color with a drop of water, it stays fairly light, making it great to use it as a base. Okay, now that's cleared up and everyone's in the know, let's get started. The very first page I did is from R.J. Hampson's newsletter. The coloring page Dream Quest, featuring this rabbit on his vehicle. I believe he used it to announce his new book, Steampunk Revival. For this, I used the Castle Arts gold-colored pencils and soft pastels for the background. Okay, let's continue with Die Magie der Natur by Stratton Peterson, or in English, Nature's Magic. Here I colored the page The Tincture for Inner Calm. This was a body color with Selena Moonlight from Instagram. I'll show you her version of the page here. She did a wonderful job, especially with the sky. I really like how she hinted at the clouds in the background. Overall, her color choices are beautiful. Thanks for coloring this page with me. I colored my version using the Castle Art Soft Touch pencils. Additionally, I used some gel pens on the bottom of the clouds, on the white orange blossoms, and on the water. That was Nature's Magic by Stratton Peterson. Let's move on to my project book, Ivy und der magische Schmetterling, or Ivy and the Inky Butterfly by Joanna Basford. The next page I worked on is this butterfly, from the title. The text mentioned that the wings are a mosaic of vibrant colors, framed by a delicate network of finest gold. Accordingly, I tried to make the lines golden. To ensure it matches with the opposite page, I used the same yellow combination and retracted the fine lines with a golden Pentel Hybrid gel pen. For colored pencils, I used the Castle Art Soft Touch set and drew some inspiration for the colors from the small butterfly in the front here, which I colored earlier this year. But in the end, I used a little bit different colors. That was Ivy and the Inky Butterfly by Joanna Basford. Next up is Enchanted Earth by Melpomene Chatzipanagiotou. I colored this desert landscape on a stack of books. For this one, I again used the Castle Art Soft Touch pencils, but I based the entire page with watercolor melt from Felte pens, as I mentioned earlier. For the background, I used soft pastels. I added some golden gel pen to the sun and applied a lot of white gel pen to the water. These bubbles here, floating in the air, looked a bit odd to me, and I wasn't sure what to do with them, so I painted over them with a metallic watercolor. Just outlining them in white, like the other bubbles here, looked strange, but now the whole page feels more harmonious. That was Enchanted Earth by Melpomene Chatzipanagiotou. Next we move on to Creattopia by Vex. I started with this bee, though I realized while coloring that it's probably more kind of bumblebee. But by then I had already finished the honeycomb background. I created the honeycomb using my Jackson water-soluble crayons. The bumblebee itself was colored with Castle Arts gold pencils, and for the wings I used metallic watercolors again. You can really see the beautiful shine. Later in the month I completed another page, namely this one here with the eye. So far I had mostly done pages like the one with the bumblebee, where there's an object in the middle and a lot of empty background. This is the first page in this book where there's virtually no background. But it was a lot of fun to do. For this I exclusively used Castle Arts gold pencils and nothing else. I have to say it turned out better than I expected. I thought it would look very chaotic with all these figures, but somehow I managed to distribute the colors quite evenly, making the whole piece colorful yet harmonious. That was Creattopia by Vex. Next we have A Million Little Monsters by Lulu Mayo. Selina gifted it for me, so we did another body color together. Here it is. This page with the moon, the dragon and the other figures. For this I used Castle Art Soft Touch pencils, a golden gel pen and golden metallic watercolor for the bigger stars. As you can see here with the darker colors, I didn't manage to cover the white areas very well with these pencils. I also made a video about my first page in a Lulu Mayo book, which I link here. And here I'm showing you Selina's version of the page. Once again, she did an amazing job. It's always fascinating how the same page can look so different. And that's despite the fact that by coincidence we both chose a blue outfit and a kind of pink for the flowers. At the end of the video for this page, I experimented a bit with different materials on the cover page. I tried Castle Art gold pencils, which definitely worked better, but the best result came from using watercolor made from felter pens as a base. Of course, you could also use watercolor pencils or something similar. But since I'd like to gradually use up these old felter pens, I'm really enjoying them in the moment. As this method worked best on this paper, I completed the entire page using it and added a bit of gel pen. White for the highlights in the eyes and the waterline, and metallic gel pens for all the horns. Since the gradient I created with the watercolor from the felter pens wasn't very visible in some areas, I darkened certain parts of the mountains and the water with soft pastels. At first, I considered coloring inspiration from the cover page. But since there are stars on the cover that aren't present on this page, I decided to create a daytime scene instead. Okay, that was A Million Little Monsters by Lulu Mayo. Next, I continue with Crystal Vogel's book Abenteuer der Blütenelfen, translated to Adventures of the Blossom Elves. Here I colored this double page, titled Swinging. Again, I based the page with watercolor made from felter pens, including the background, and then color the actual motif with Castle Art soft touch pencils. Initially, I only planned to use the watercolor as a base for the background, but I liked the effect so much that I decided not to go over it with colored pencils. For embellishment, I added some metallic watercolor to create the shimmer around the wings, and some gel pen for the details on the hairband and her shoes. After Amp Colors recently published a video showing how she finds her inspiration images on Pinterest. I linked the video in the video description. I tried this method for this book as well. I'm quite pleased with the result and will definitely do it more often. Unfortunately, I no longer have the images to show you, and there's also a copyright issue to consider. Another double page I completed is this one, titled Balancing. Here I used exactly the same materials again, felter pens on plastic sheet for the background and as a base, and then colored with Castle Art soft touch pencils, gel pens and metallic watercolors. The wings shimmer beautifully here, as you can see. Without such an inspiration image, I probably wouldn't have thought of doing the background in pink and purple tones. These inspiration images can really help you to explore different colors and combinations you might not usually consider. The frame around the left page, however, is always the same. I wrote down the colors once and have been filling it in accordingly ever since. Sometimes it's nice not to have to think too much about certain elements, especially with objects like this recurring frame. Only the butterfly, oh, I realized I didn't color it, but only the butterfly I colored to match the specific page. I have to do it. But otherwise the frame remains consistent. Okay, now the page is really finished. That was Abenteuer der Blütenelfen by Crystal Vogel. Then I colored some flowers in Vintage Flowers by the publisher Busse Seewald. I colored this dahlia along with the other flowers. As you can see, it's the title page. And here in the dahlia overview, the picture appears again. I colored this page exclusively with Castle Art's Harmonious pencils. It was kind of a little challenge to see if I could complete an entire picture using only this set. There's also a video about it, I link it here. And for the middle of the blossoms, I used a bit of golden gel pen. But otherwise I only used the Harmonious set. Then I colored another page, or rather two. I thought I'd create a double page spread by painting the background across both pages. I did this using the Jackson water-soluble crayons. And for the coloring of the flowers, I used my Castle Art soft touch pencils. I really like the contrast between the background and the yellow blossoms. That was Vintage Flowers. In between, I wanted to do a few simple, quick pages, so I worked in this Disney coloring book. So far, I've been coloring it in order, so I colored the next two pages. One from the Disney film Wreck-It Ralph and another from Turning Red. I used this book to use up old, lower quality art supplies. Here I primed the page with inexpensive watercolors and then colored over them with no-name colored pencils. You can clearly see how difficult it is to blend nicely with cheap materials, especially when you have a very limited color range and the surface becomes quite unpleasant to color over due to the watercolor. For the background, I also used wax crayons in combination with colored pencils. For the second page, I actually just based the red panda with watercolors. And I have to say, I want to use them up somehow, which is why I'm doing this. But as you can see here, when I color the figures without a watercolor base, the colors aren't as vibrant, but the colored pencils blend better. Maybe I shouldn't have tried to give the panda a fur texture and instead just colored it with a gradient or something similar. As mentioned, I used inexpensive watercolors and colored pencils again. Because the paper is very thin, the watercolors turn out very patchy. So I decided to intentionally add splotches in different colors in the background. I think it actually works pretty well. Okay, that was the Disney coloring book, which was once available at Action. I'm not sure if it's still available, but it was very cheap, probably 1 or 2 euros. Alright, moving on to the last book. Meine Reise durch Asien bei Rita Beermann. Here I colored my second Vietnam page. I believe I completed the first one last month or the month before. And now I've colored this page using exactly the same colors as on the other page. I have to say I really like how it turned out. I used the Castle Arts gold pencils again, just like on the previous page. And for the last finishing touches, I used a white gel pen, some metallic blue gel pen for the small circles, and a bit of glitter gel pen on the fish. And some gold gel pen on the stars. I'm glad to have both pages finished. I think this one is one of my favorite pages for the month. That makes 18 completed pages. I now have at least 3 pages colored in all of my books, except for the Christmas book by Crystal Vogel. That's a good step towards my goal of 5 pages in each of my books for the end of the year, aside from the newest ones. I've also reached the 5 pages mark in several books this month, which is great. So, what are my favorite pages for September? I think another favorite is Swinging from Abenteuer der Blütenelfen. And the page from Nature's Magic is also really nice. I noticed a color pattern when we look at the backgrounds here. But yes, I would say these are my favorite pages. Also, I really like the page from R.J. Hampson. What's your favorite page? Feel free to write it in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video. See you next time. Bye!